I don't think I've ever seen you go live. Do you go live a lot?
Maybe, only maybe on Sunday nights. So I do a call-in show on Sunday nights. So I usually go live at the same time so that people can watch it either on TikTok or on YouTube.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not sure. There's a little delay between Jeff and I talking for the commenter, so it might be that we just sort of have to listen to each other, and we might not be able to pay as much attention to the comments. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay, and the comments are like 30 or 45 seconds delayed.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's how it works.
I like to welcome him if I can. Thanks everybody for joining and watching. We're probably not going to be able to toot out too much. Venuti 69 joined. That's cool. Mexican 68. If you want to read questions, if you see one that comes up that's good, go ahead and bring it up, man.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I see me and my 4 viewers.
That probably. I love your stuff, man. You seem to be like spontaneous. You'll like respond to videos a lot more than I do. Whereas producer Jay and I kind of like make a plan and sort of have it a little bit polished and worked out. You're like way more willing to just like get on there and be manic, man. And I'm kind of jealous of that spontaneity.
It's really the like for me, the reason I say Atheist Troll is that we're past the point with some people of arguing a logical argument. We have to go directly to ad absurdum because that's where they're at. And I'm there to meet them at that point of ad absurdum. And just, like I had Jehovah's Witnesses, which are notoriously insane, in a chat group with me earlier, trying to convince me that the government is speaking to aliens over large satellites. To which I asked for evidence, and then they said, of course, no evidence. So I just go straight to ad absurdum and say, well, actually, there's lizard people that control those aliens. They're not real people. You don't know anything about this because it's on the dark web, and you don't want to search it for yourself, which is the exact same argument they're using for proving aliens. So I'm just meeting them where they're at.
It's really true because you can't debate them. And people ask me, when Christians get on and be like, hey, would you like to debate me? I think it'd be interesting. How is that interesting? You're not going to change my mind.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not going to change yours. So it's like, I'd rather beat my head against the wall than debate a fucking Christian.
Yeah. So I instead of, and I do legitimate debates every once in a while, but most of the time, if I'm in a debate, I'm not there to debate the subject matter. I'm there to make that person look stupid by using their argument against them or using epistemology. So, if you want to make a claim that, there was a worldwide flood, I'm going to drag you through the dirt on that and make you look like an idiot because that's just a stupid position to take. And there's no reason for me to logically go about showing you the science why there's no flood. I'm just going to, let's just go straight to ad absurdum.
What about people who try to use science to prove their religion? I find that ridiculous that people who you have to agree if you have
that usually goes straight to either the tag argument or some cosmological argument. It's never really actual science. It's more philosophy. And I understand philosophy is a wing of science, but they're using a philosophical argument, which we don't use to prove reality. We don't use philosophy to prove the existence of physical things. Philosophies for questions that don't have answers.
That's why I don't feel like it is a branch of science. I always felt like philosophy is religion. That's why it's in the same department as religion in colleges. It's not in the department because trying to prove, philosophy is no more true than religion to me. It's just someone's idea of the nature of being. So to me, to try to use philosophical arguments to prove God through science is a useless exercise. And to me, it just shows that those people don't really have a strong faith because they understand that their argument for belief and for faith has no validity. And so they're trying to fit their preconceived conclusions into a scientific argument through philosophy and then pretend that it's scientific.
Yeah, and they want to make it confusing on purpose. That's they make it as the most confusing argument as possible so that they're the experts on it. And if you try to challenge them, then they're going to just outclass you in philosophy. I think it's just a dick measuring contest to see who knows the biggest words. And so when it comes down to when's the last time a doctor or surgeon or rocket scientist went, hey, I got a problem. I can't figure out the best, angle for these vectors on this rocket engine. Let's go to a philosophical argument and try and prove that. Like, no, let's figure out which medicine is best to treat cancer. They don't go to philosophy. We test it. We look for testable, repeatable results that have a consistent result. That's it. And if you could give me the same thing for a religion, then you'd probably win me over. But it always goes to, well, you know, you just have to believe this, or minimal facts, or, you know, these circumstantial evidences. It's never hard evidence. It's never good, you know, logical anything, really.
Kevin Rubix, I want to say hi and thanks for being a moderator and being out there. I put his name up there. He's a great follower and a great fan of ours. And go ahead and follow him, everybody, if you would, please. And don't fuck around. If you fucking trolls are here to fuck with us, we'll mute your ass.
I'm ready for them.
He doesn't play that shit.
I thrive on it.
You thrive on the trolls?
You send them to me.
Our girl, crazy crazy cat lady, is like worried that the trolls try to catch you. You know what I mean? Saying,
yeah.
And they use you. They like take a video or a screenshot and then try to get you mass reported. You've been
that happens.
Kicked off like 50 times, right?
6.
I feel like I'm on borrowed time, man. You know what I mean? But what do you do? Not that I want to, but what do you do to get?
I mean, honestly, it's mainly if I expose something of a religion, you know, if I call out the Catholic Church for molesting children, if I call out the Catholic Church for killing people in hospitals, if I call out Muslims for their pedophile leader and prophet, if I call out their book for being, so I was told, the first account got banned because I was told by a Muslim that if I touched their book in the wrong place, that I would be set on fire. And then someone else told me I'd be turned into a rat. So I said, well, let's test this. And I took my Quran, which I have many copies of, and ripped a page out of it and burned it. And that was what got me my first ban. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Even though my account was banned, the video of me burning a page out of the Quran went viral because they kept sharing it. So I got my account back, and the video had 1.5 million views on it.
Holy shit.
Come to find out, it went viral in Malaysia. And all these Malaysian people were trying to find my information and report me to the Malaysian government because, you know, it's a crime out there to burn it. So now I'm on the terrorist watch list in Malaysia, and I can never visit Malaysia at any point in my life for fear of government finding out and killing me, because they would kill you if you did that in the streets in Malaysia. So they're nuts, you know. So that was then the account finally got banned, and I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to stop making the content. I'm not going to stop calling you out. So now I'm just, you know, Atheist Troll Mark 8. So that's the 8th account. One of them I did lose the password to legitimately, so that one didn't get banned. My phone broke and I don't know the password.
So you're not the only one, or I'm not the only one that fucks with Islam. And I've done it like 2 or 3 times now, and they really get inflamed. Why are Muslims such snowflakes?
I think it's because they're taught that religion is something that you have to respect. Even though they claim they respect all religions, they don't. They want you to respect their religion. And to me, it's just like putting religion in government. It means that your religion is not strong enough to stand on its own. Your God isn't strong enough to stand on his own. He needs you to go and protect his book. I mean, I get death threats for putting their book on a shelf under a Bible or under another book. And I'm not afraid of that, you know, like I'm not going to, your book isn't special. I think that's the lesson learned, right? Is your book is no more special than a Harry Potter novel. Well, so
I'm reading it now, the Quran. I've never read it before, and I figured I may as well be an informed critic if I'm going to do that shit. So I've started reading it. And
it's hard.
It's completely derivative of the Bible so far. I've gotten to anything where you're just like obsessed with the Bible and talking about it so far. And I'm pretty early in, but so far it's completely impressive.
I find it really hard to understand, 1. 2, the English versions aren't very good because they don't want to develop them because they claim that only ancient Arabic is the way to read it.
Right.
And it just makes no sense to me that this God that knows everything and can do everything has to give me a book from a dude in ancient Arabic. That just doesn't make any sense. You know, I never understood when Christians or theists in any way say our God can do everything. But here's what you need to understand.
Right.
And, you know, now list all the excuses for why he can't do anything.
Right. Well, it's pretty clear that, you know, Muhammad used the Quran to unite the tribe out here in Arabia. you know, in the Arab world at that point. And that's really its purpose. And he probably didn't even envision it going much further than that. He wanted to unite.
No.
I always admit, I'm like, Muhammad was a genius, clearly, in some ways. To do what he did, is a rare person. But it's not going to stop me from fucking with it. It's, you know, I made the video making fun of the of El Barak, right, the flying donkey fucking thing, and people lost their shit. And like, can't you? Isn't being Islamophobic? I mean, how am I expected to respect a religion that calls for my death, right?
Yeah.
And I want to mention, cancel religion says that Malaysia's a sewer anyway. So you're not.
Well, I wasn't planning on going to Malaysia, but you know, even Indonesia. Indonesia is another nuts one. You should see some of the. Have you seen some of their passion shows?
No.
They legitimately crucify people on Easter as like a homage to Jesus. They've taken it that far. You can watch it on YouTube. I mean, these guys are literally nailing themselves to crosses and carrying them down the streets in processions.
Christian Indonesians.
Yeah, Christians. Yeah. Indonesians.
Indonesia is actually
it's nuts.
Islamic country now. I don't know if you knew that. That's true. Yeah. They are the biggest one. Thanks everybody for joining.
But for me, with Muslim, they want to take you into scripture. I will give it to them. They are very well studied, but they respect the authority of man. They respect the authority of these sheiks that tell them what they're supposed to think about whatever's in the book. My thing is, let's not get into the actual theology of the religion until you can demonstrate somehow that Muhammad was visited by an angel from God and not an extraterrestrial from another universe that gave him this information. Yeah. Like, can you demonstrate the difference between the two? Did he guess really well? Did he get the information from a time traveler? All of these things are just as logical as a God giving it to an angel that then gave it to him. So until we can differentiate between a time traveler and an angel, I don't know where this book came from.
Yeah, and that's the whole bit. The fact that you have to accept that any of those books are the word of God. How are you supposed to do that when it just didn't appear? You know, if there was 12 witnesses that saw it appear on a rock in every language, you might give it some validity. But the fact that it took 20 years to write or dictate that always gets pointed. Yeah. Muhammad was illiterate. He didn't write anything. He's given credit as the fucking author. All right. So if I say Muhammad wrote it, he fucking wrote it. All right. And apparently the Arabic prose is beautiful. If you understand Arabic and can read it, it's a great piece of literature, just like the King James Bible is in English. Really a masterpiece of English literature, that is. But you know, to me, it's no more valid than Joseph Smith's fucking golden plates that he made up. How are you supposed to take that seriously? Indoctrination, I guess.
Then they talk about the poetry, like, oh, nobody can write like this. Well, yeah, but nobody can paint like Picasso. That doesn't mean that Picasso got his influence from God.
Right.
He could have just been a very good poet, you know. Or someone else cleaned it up for him later on. I don't know. It doesn't show divinity. The scientific miracles in the Quran, though, that's my favorite. That's but look, like it knew about this, and then you're like, well, what does the verse actually say? And it says there will be tall buildings. Like, really? That's a prophecy? There's going to be tall. They had 2-story houses.
Yeah.
And they were envisioning having even taller houses. Somehow that's skyscrapers.
Yeah. Or the depth of the ocean. Like somebody hadn't figured it out. Like somebody back then couldn't hope and figured out that the ocean was pretty deep. What do you say to that? Do you know more of those? I'm always wondering how to argue that better when people are like,
there's a bunch of them. And I always ask for, what does the verse actually say? Because they tell you, hey, the Quran knew about the Big Bang Theory. That's a common one. The Quran claims the Big Bang Theory. Okay, well, what's the actual verse say? It says expanded. And even that, it's using an ancient Arabic word that means 5 different things. They chose expanded as the one they think it means in the context. But even then, it doesn't, like the entire Big Bang Theory is not encompassed by the single word expanded. It could mean anything. So they're just, it's a Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where they take the result and they're putting the bullseye around it to fit whatever narrative they want.
Yeah.
Again, nothing in there is that, evident of a masterful, how about putting the cure for cancer in there or something, give me something useful.
We can use today, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to know that tall buildings will exist in the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, not Scott, wanted us to mention 200 bodies found in Canada. Was that recent that got found? They dug up those children's bodies in a Catholic church orphanage or something. Maybe
that happens frequently. They had a few of those in Scotland and Ireland too, where the orphanages had they're finding bodies in the background or the backyards of these orphanages. I mean, the Catholic organization is a criminal organization, and this is coming from a former Catholic.
Is that what I was going to ask you? Were you raised Catholic?
I was raised Catholic. So both my parents on both sides were Catholic. They came from small towns in Southern Illinois, all Catholic. So every single social event through my childhood was Catholic. So yeah, that's the majority of my understanding of the Christian faith.
Were you an altar boy? Did you have unwanted touch?
I was not. And actually, I never really had a bad experience in the church. Most of my friends came from the church. So I never really had like a bad experience. I mean, other than just the childhood indoctrination and self-guilt and trauma that comes from religion. But never, I never had anything but usually good, weddings, fish fries. I would even join the Knights of Columbus as an adult. So all kinds of social events.
Yeah. I wonder why the government doesn't shut the doors on the Catholic Church until they clean up that shit. To me, the religious America is a thing, and they get a pass on a lot of shit. But they don't all get passes, right? The Mormons were forced out of polygamy, and if it's a cult like Waco, the FBI will go in and burn it down. So when the government needs and wants, they will fuck with religion. So why can't they shut the doors on the Catholic Church until they stop diddling boys?
Too big.
I guess to me it's an embarrassment, and
I mean, Branch Davidians is a group of 200 people that almost nobody knows about, and they would be considered lunatics. Like, oh, that's just a crazy cult.
Right.
Whereas the Catholic Church parades itself as this grand organization that deserves respect and the history. History. I mean, have you ever talked to an Eastern Orthodox or Greek Orthodox or an Orthodoxy? Yeah. Those people think that their shit doesn't stink. They think they're the highest. They got this memorized, the church fathers this and church fathers that. I mean, they're just blowing smoke up their asses to make them sound like they're special. But in reality, you got a bunch of people with hats on claiming to talk to God. And you have a book with talking animals in it that you want me to believe.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it's the same bullshit that you're making fun of any other religion cult.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Catholic Church is dying. A pretty quick death, especially in Europe, where they're losing. You can't look at data the same way, but you can see data in Europe for the number of priests that they are losing. And it's something like 2,500 priests a year that are leaving the priesthood that are not being filled by people coming in. So they're getting a negative delta of 2,500 priests a year in Europe. Africa is becoming the hotbed for Christianity and will probably be your world leader for Christianity, and it will move from Europe.
Yeah.
But it's a different it's a mixed tradition between tribal traditions and Christianity in Africa. It's much different. So it's evolving.
A lot like South America, where they want to incorporate Santeria, and they don't want to let go of voodoo. They don't want to let go of their little brown idol that they have but they kind of put it all together. And yeah, you're right.
It's nuts to me. It's nuts to me that Chris Rock had a really good comment. And he said, if you're a Black Christian, you have a short memory. And when I think of Brazil, which is 98% Catholic, knowing that the Spanish came there, raped their women, burned their cities, burned their books, killed all the males, and then impregnated the children that were left. Like, why the fuck would you worship that God?
Yeah.
Like, why would, do you not teach that in history class? Do you not know your own history? It makes no sense. I would not worship the captors of my ancestors.
Yeah. I don't get that either. And it's like a Stockholm syndrome thing. I think that over the generations with slaves, especially, and again, the conquered peoples, they end up with that mindset that they need to strive to be that hero that's been set up for them, which is a white god apparently. And I can't get it through my head either, but Tusk Grabber.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing if the spread of Christianity was also during the Enlightenment, and it came as peace spread across Europe and into the Americas, and the message itself was strong enough to convince people. But no, it was violence, torture, death, like just like any other religion spreads through terror.
Right, right.
And if it was unique, they might have a little bit of something to stand on, you know?
Right. Here's a good one. Truth About Islam. I think it went by, but they brought up the one that this always cracks me up. A shoe can't exist without having a designer, right? And so they want to apply that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see a watch on the beach, you know that watch instinctively had a creator. What do you say to that?
Or a house has a builder.
Yeah, the boat had a builder. What do you say to that stupid argument?
So it's pretty easy. So a house, the house is the one that comes to me the most. So they'll say, well, if you see a house, how do you know it's a builder? One, if the creation's all the same, how does the theist know that the house didn't come from God? One, because how would you notice the difference? Well, if you use logic, you have observed people building a house. We have observed people getting lumber. We have observed nails at hardware stores. We've observed these materials. That's how we know humans build houses. We have not observed a deity creating the universe. There's no observance of that. So if you were to walk in the woods and see a house, how would you tell the difference between a house and a tree? That's what I asked them. How do you tell the difference between a house and a tree? It should be the same to them because they don't know that the house came from God or a person. How would you know? So it puts them on that. I mean, we know that a watch came from a watchmaker because a watch is a complex item made by humans because we've observed humans make watches. But if a watch is in sand and you don't know which one, you wouldn't be able to distinguish the watch from the sand if the case was that this was, this all-knowing creator or whatever. We don't know that the universe is a creation. I'm not convinced that the universe was created. It may be eternal. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. But I know that houses are built by people.
Right. Yeah, no, that one always pisses me off when they go to that one right away. I want to shout out to our LGBTQ friends. Happy Pride Month. Someone asked, Tusk Grabber asked if we support LGBTQ. Of course, right? You support your gay friends, right?
I don't give a shit what people do in their free time as consenting adults. The gayest thing that you can do is be a preacher that is concerned about what gay people do in the bedroom and talk about it all the time.
Amen.
Yeah.
It always kills me. It's like, how does it possibly affect?
It's a red flag.
How does it affect you who someone marries?
It's a red flag.
Yeah.
Those pastors always get caught on Grindr. They always get caught on their Grindr's account, and they're having sex with some dude, and they're it's always that way. There's something insecure about them, and I think they're fighting against their own urges, which is why they preach about it. I've never really been concerned. I mean, even when I was a theist, I was told that gays were evil, that it was sinful.
Right.
But I didn't care. Like that they go do their thing then, like whatever. I don't care. But that's going to be a big problem, especially for this younger generation. You see a lot of these whatever is after millennials. What is that? Gen Zers?
Gen Z.
That they don't fuck with that. Like if you're a church and you talk about this like gays go to hell stuff, they don't fuck with it.
They don't, and that's why they're losing members for sure.
Yeah, and this progressive Christianity, just go ahead and get rid of the Bible at this point. Like, you guys just need to lose the Bible.
What I don't get is why do so many gay people really want to be Christians still, and they go out and find these gay friendly churches, which is great, but I don't get why you want to be involved with that. The Bible is anti-gay. You can't.
Yeah, it is.
Found that it's
anti-woman, it's anti-gay, it's anti a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a necessity from an evolutionary standpoint for humans to group. And we have a herd mentality or a tribe mentality, and it's necessary for survival. We don't have outlets, and this is where the atheist community has to do better, is we don't have outlets for atheist members to join a church, to meet weekly, to congregate, to have these bake sales and stuff and support other things and do these kinds of things. So it's a community thing. They don't read the Bible in church. They don't talk about that. They lecture about what they think Jesus's message is,
right?
Or they lecture about whatever. They're not reading the Bible because that's not the central thing that's causing them to go to church. It's the community. So what we have to do is give some sort of replacement for that if we expect people to leave the church.
I'm Too Funky says, dropped in on a discussion about Mike Pence. Perfect.
Yeah, for real.
I got a book. Sorry, I can't get to them because we're talking, and so I can't just read the comments like I do when I'm live alone. But I got a bunch of people going, and thanks to the moderators, Kevin and Crazy Cat Lady, non-crazy Crazy Cat Lady, for taking up some of those questions that I can't quite get to.
So how long you been doing this?
The TikTok?
No, just the atheist activism, we'll say.
Probably since about eight years, I want to say. And I got
okay. So
12. It was 12 when I started looking for atheist group. I just assumed that was a vacuum in society. And my little kids were in kindergarten about that time, and they got instantly indoctrinated at public school.
Yeah,
and it was made me so sick to my stomach, the whole thing, that I decided that instead of going, I was going to should I get into politics, run for the school board, and then I realized that in this country, this secular nation, where we have the first great secular constitution, we have no secular voice. There's no secular voice in government. And the atheists are the most hated minority in America, more hated than Muslims, if you can even fucking believe that.
And my mom told me she'd rather me be Muslim than an atheist,
because it doesn't threaten their paradigm. At least we believe in something. How you hear that? You don't believe in any. You have to believe in something. As long as you believe in something. Yeah, I believe in a hard hits, and some good love.
Yeah, let me pick a bad answer because I'm not comfortable saying I don't know.
Yeah, that's so, and that makes atheism really demonic to people. They just don't fucking get it, and they really, really hate it. And so I decided that I was going to make that my mission. And I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I don't feel a lot of persecution. I don't feel, my family loves me. My mom's a born again Christian, but she's not a hater, and she feels bad inside that I'm going to hell, but she never brings it up to me, and she doesn't give me shit about it. And so I don't have, I don't lose work, and we own our own business, so I'm not going to get fired for being an atheist. And I know some people don't use me because if they find out I'm an atheist, but I'm in a position where I can be vocal and I can be public about it. And I see so many that I figured that I may as well use whatever talent I have to stand up for them. And not just for atheists, for minority religions who have to put up with the fucking Christian nationalism here. We have, Hmong, you know what Hmong is? Hmong. Hmong.
Yes.
Yeah. We have the largest Hmong community outside of Vietnam and southern China, but those people have to live. I feel so bad for people who are just trying to get by and are happy getting dragged out in the street and killed for being Muslim. Because I do know some nice Muslims. We have Albanians here that have a mosque down the road. And all of those people have to live in a country that is just so rife with Christian nationalism now and Christian exceptionalism that we try to stand up for all of those people for real freedom of religion and freedom from religion. So it's been about 12 years and about 6 or 7 since I've been honestly the Milwaukee area's most public and visible atheist. Been on the news.
So I'm out. See, I'm 15. So I'm about 5 years in to being an atheist. And
you just started shaving it.
And honestly, I got into it for the trolling. I remember making my first TikTok account I ever made was "I'm just here trolling" was my username. And I was like, all these stupid kids making videos about stuff. I was actually trolling. And then somehow I got Christian TikTok all over the place. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, these people that are like crying about, the
rapture.
Rapture, yeah. And I'm like, you guys are fucking nuts. Yeah, so I just started posting videos of prominent atheists saying things, 30-second clips, and just writing Bible verses out, things like that. And I got a lot of traction. So I was like, maybe I'll do something like this. So I do that, and then I've also started doing Bible quote art. So like the one I have on now is a 2 Kings reference. So it'll show the 2 Kings. This is where God sends a bear to kill children for making fun of a bald man.
Yeah.
I don't add my own context. I literally just put the Bible verse on the shirt, and somebody told me that I'm making God look bad.
That's awesome. How, do you sell those shirts?
Yeah, I sell them on the it's just a Linktree Atheist Troll, or you can even Google Atheist Troll merch now, and I'm at the top of the list.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I got a couple t-shirts
so we got
that I made, and I love that. I love that that t-shirt. And I saw your video where you're in the grocery store trying to get people to notice it. Somebody asked.
Yeah, or I got this one with the guy throwing babies on rocks, which is from Psalms.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. Somebody asked, what's the most atheistic city in America? What do you think? It's not in Georgia.
Probably somewhere, I would think out west somewhere.
Portland or something like that? Seattle?
No, they got lunatics out there. They got like the Methodist, the gay, like where they have the gay Methodist churches.
Yeah.
I bet it's somewhere we don't know. I bet you it's somewhere that would boggle our mind, like somewhere in Alaska or something. I don't know. Hold on.
It might be that, but we have capital was exceedingly liberal and is the home of FFRF. So I'd have to say that they're probably up there because of the University of Wisconsin, the pot smoke out every year.
Yeah.
And some Eastern cities.
Okay, here it is.
What?
Number 3, Boston.
I was going to say Boston.
Number 2, Seattle.
Yeah, there you go.
And number 1, San Francisco Bay Area.
There you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, actually, Atlanta's on the list here.
Atlanta's a cool town. I really like it.
Atlanta, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Miami, Detroit, New York.
Yeah, you knew New York would have to be up there.
But even these percentages are barely double digits. Like your best, San Francisco is 21%. And I think that's mainly because, again, the terminology atheist has been demonized.
Yeah.
So people think they can't say that. They have to be like, oh, well, I'm a humanist. Like, what the fuck is that? You believe in God or not? Yes, no.
Yeah.
Like it's one question, one answer.
Yeah, I'm with you. They take the agnostic box.
Yeah, I'm agnostic.
Yeah.
You don't even know what that means.
Oh, a set of balls. You're an atheist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a book by Seth Andrews that Deconverted by Seth Andrews.
Yeah.
I was reading that book on a trip to Florida because I do books on tape. And there's a chapter about that where he explains it. And I'm like, yeah, I should stop being a little bitch about it and just, I'm an atheist. Like that. I meet the definition. There's nothing wrong with it.
Seth is great. He's a buddy of ours. I've worked with him a couple of times, and he's an ex-preacher or not, like an ex-Christian guy. He's got a
radio host.
Awesome.
He's got a fantastic story.
Yeah, he does. And he's got the most popular atheist podcast in the world, and he's quite proud of that, and he should be. I don't know what he's up to. COVID kind of shut down the events. So I haven't seen or heard much of any of those people lately. Maybe that'll come back this year.
It's funny. It lists on here like prominent atheist mayors and state legislators. The list is basically like 1. We've had 2 governors that claimed to be atheist, one of which is Jesse Ventura.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
And we've had 3 state representatives.
State rep.
1 senator.
Yeah, he's still there, I think. There's a guy. There's one in Congress. I think maybe he's a rep.
Yeah, Congress is, let's see, state legislatures.
Oh, he's a pretty cool guy. And I've heard him talk. But other than that, we're the most underrepresented group. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
That's saying a lot.
And they need us. Like, here's the thing. Because I get these messages all the time, and I'm sure you do too. You need us to be assholes. You need us fighting this battle to push the paradigm one direction. Because you have these lunatics on the other side claiming that, we need to ban mosques, claiming that, we need that the COVID is a fucking, the virus is 5G, all this stuff. These lunatics need somebody on the other side pulling people the other direction to level this out somewhere in the middle. So you need us to fight those battles.
Yeah.
And if I could do anything, it would be to encourage other people to speak out when you see dumb shit. If somebody makes a racist joke and you don't say anything, you're perpetuating racism. Your silence is acceptance of that racism. So don't accept that. And, you know, if someone, just like I wouldn't accept if I'm at a restaurant and I saw a guy taking pictures of girls that they didn't know about, I would say some shit. I'd be like, dude, put your phone away, or I'd call it out, you know?
Right.
So, you know, we should not let that happen. You should not allow those things to happen. So if there's somebody telling gay people that they're going to go to hell, you need to fucking say something about that and stand up for these people to these religious bullies, because they think that they can do whatever they want in the name of their so-called deity. And I've also started, and this one really upsets people, whenever I reference something in the Bible, I say, according to Christian mythology, whatever it is. And they can't, because whenever you see, I'm sure you got that, you're like, well, Satan actually is the, you know, guy that do, and they're like, oh, you believe in Satan? Like, oh, let me rephrase. According to Christian mythology, Satan, you know, blah, 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 blah. That one always triggers a few people.
I think we need to normalize calling religion mythology. I try to do it every time I talk about religion.
Yeah.
Because it is. And Dad go about it. He's like, it's time to normalize that. And
yep.
I mean, every fucking religion is mythology. The ones that are continuing to survive today are only continuing to survive because a certain number of people don't think it's a mythology. And the idea that we need to respect that is absurd to me.
And they've evolved. The religion follows evolution. It works in the same way. The religions that are easily disproven because they failed to evolve, like Greek mythology or whatever, they have failed. Christianity today is not what Christianity was 100 years ago or even 50 years ago. They are continuing to evolve to keep people there, to keep their populations up, to keep the money flowing. So that's why you see these progressive churches changing. That's why the Catholic Church doesn't talk about, you know, death to gays anymore,
right? Or
putting women to death or whatever. The Catholic Church put animals on trial at one point in time in their history, like farm animals. So you Eastern Orthodoxy people, you want me to respect a religion that put animals on trial because your church fathers knew what they were talking about?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
The Matt in the Hat is here. Good to see you, buddy. It's ironic, religion evolving, but it doesn't always evolve. Some of it devolves. And when you say that Christianity in America is not what it was 100 years ago, it's not what it was when the founders were mainline Protestants. The ones who weren't deists were mainline Protestants. They wouldn't even recognize this shit that goes on today. There was no evangelical.
No.
In colonial America, no evangelicals.
The rapture hadn't even been invented yet.
No, and all of that is, to me, devolution. The Catholic Church, to bring up an example, accepted evolution when it became obvious that geological age was true, and the Big Bang happened 14.8 billion years ago. All of that became accepted scientific knowledge, and so they went ahead and accepted it and started telling people to read Genesis as a metaphor. Quite obviously, that's a good way. Like you say, if religion is going to survive, it needs to evolve in that way, not to evolve in the way that the mega churches evolved in America, to water down the message and take any theological questioning out. Just say, this is what you need to believe. This is what the Bible says. You just need to do this and you'll be fine. That to me is evolving in the wrong direction. Don't you think?
Yeah. And if this, and I'm not claiming at any point in time, am I claiming that there is absolutely no God? I don't know. But I would think that if a deity existed, was able to communicate with me, either would or would not. And if he chose not to communicate with me, then I don't understand, like, that this thing probably didn't want a relationship with us. So it's possible there's a creator that just wants nothing to do with us. Or is unaware of our existence, doesn't care, or whatever. So the fact that every religion has a common denominator, the common denominator is it needs a person to tell me about it. There's not a religion that you just know without a person telling you. I just don't understand that limitation on a deity. Why no deity can speak to us directly, and everybody.
Well, the believers claim that he does, but he just speaks in silence. He speaks in poetry. He speaks in your mind. You know, it's like if you listen for God, you'll hear him. It's like, okay, and so if I believe, I'll be a believer is essentially what you're saying. You have to want.
Well, let's say you're in Vancouver and you have cancer and you're in the hospital and you're dying with cancer in Vancouver, and I have the cure. Now, this is very dire to your situation because you could die. That's one person. Now, what if it's a cure for cancer for everybody in the world? What if it's a cure for the human condition? What if it's a cure for the human condition for all eternity? Am I going to communicate that to you in metaphors and poetry? No, I'm going to give the doctor the fucking information they need to make the drugs to save you in the most direct and easy to understand way possible. So, you know, why play these games? You know, like, why would you be like, look, I'm going to tell these humans about me, but let's do it in a way that they don't really know. Like, let's don't give it to them easy. You know, let's make it really hard.
Right.
Almost as if I don't exist. Make it just like whatever would happen if I don't exist, make it like that. And then let them fight about it. And it just doesn't make any sense. If this deity was all powerful I think the, what is the paradox? The one where like, is God, you know, able to fix the problem, but he doesn't, then he's
Epicurean.
Epicurean, yeah. The Epicurean paradox, I think, is enough to disprove Christianity in most religions.
Enough to disprove a benevolent God, that's for sure. Like you said, if you know, we're all as atheists reasonable enough to admit that there's a possibility that there's a creator God out there, because we can't disprove it, but it's just the least plausible solution because there's no evidence whatsoever. So, and he clearly doesn't, or she doesn't interact with us. Like you said, they don't give a fuck about us. They're unaware of us.
Speaking of that, why does God have a gender?
Yeah, patriarchy, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's all.
You tell me this thing can create the universe, but it has a gender?
And it was cool when I was.
Like, what sense does that make?
When I was in Sunday school and church in the 70s, it was cool to think that God might be a female. It was like a thing, you know. People would talk about it. Now you hear Americans going and fighting for the fact that God is a man, and it's all this biblical literalism. You know, it says that God's a man. God created man in His image, not hers. God created a man first. God sent His son. It's all masculine, and they insist that it must be that way. So we've lost so much, to me, in evangelical America compared to what religion used to be open to that kind of questioning and you know, interpretation in a way that like evangelical America is completely forgotten about, to the point where preachers are out there telling women that it says in the Bible they need to listen to their husbands, and if you don't obey that, then you're not a Christian.
1 Corinthians,
right?
1 Corinthians says that women should, if they have questions, they should seek answers from their husbands. It is, quote, shameful for a woman to speak in church, is what it says. And then 1 Timothy 2, 11 through 14 also says, I do not permit a woman to speak. She is to be in full submission.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to teach.
Yeah.
For Adam was formed first, says that, and then Eve, and she transgressed, but not him. But she shall be saved in childbearing. It's almost a direct quote from the King James. So her job is to make babies and shut up.
Yeah.
Be submissive. And I don't understand why women think that's okay. If you read the Bible, it's very clearly your position as a second-class citizen. You get less money for a female slave.
Right.
You less money. You can sell your daughter into slavery to pay off some debts, but she's not worth as much as a male slave. Well, so I don't understand how you can read the Bible and be like, yeah, cool, this thing obviously supports me.
In the ancient world, when people were struggling to survive in a way that we can't understand these days, and you needed strong sons to do the and I mean, your firstborn son was everything to those people. And so it's no surprise to me that the Bible was written and it's over and over. This theme is over and over in the Bible, culminating in the death of God's only begotten son. That's a clear metaphor for what's the worst thing that could happen to a guy that he could possibly sacrifice for us. Losing your first son. That was everything to those. Yep. It's not a surprise that 4,000 years ago, you know, a baby daughter was not as valued as a strong, healthy baby son. That was just the logistics of how those people had to live. So losing that firstborn son, how many can you think of? Abraham being commanded to kill his son. The first
Exodus,
son, Egypt. You know, the plague that killed the firstborn son. All of these times in the Bible, people are threatened with losing their firstborn son, because that's the most horrible thing that could have happened to them. It's not an issue today because we save most.
And the question, why does God, in Christian mythology, why does this God always have to kill children in order to get his way? Like, it's weird, right? Like, why? I mean, if you were a slave in Egypt, and I'm like, man, I gotta get my people, my chosen people, I need to get them out of Egypt. How do I want to do this? Kill kids. That's how I'm going to do it. Like, that doesn't make sense. So I'm at a debate. I'm at a physical debate with T-Jump in Macon, Georgia, earlier this year. And there's a Christian apologist he's debating. And T-Jump's argument is basically like, God kills children. Killing children is evil. Your God is evil, like, is basically his argument. So he goes through, an hour and a half debate with the guy, and then people get to ask questions. So I get up to ask my question. And I said, hey, did the children that God killed, is there any positive to that? And did they deserve it? And he spent, I don't know, 10 minutes explaining how the Midianites could have grown up to, challenge Israel later on. And, that's the positive to killing the kids. And, he didn't really answer my question. He danced around it. So I asked again, like, well, did they deserve to be murdered? He said, yes, but, and before he could finish, I just went and sat down.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Like, we're done. You just claimed that, the infants deserve to be murdered. Like, that's how ludicrous their argument has gotten to at this point. Like, you're having to justify murdering infants in order to maintain your mythology.
Right. And Joe Levitz asks, thoughts on Constantine and Eusebius of Caesarea. I don't know who Eusebius is. Do you know who that is?
That's in one Bart Ehrman book that I read a long time ago. I don't. It's part of New Testament history. But no, I don't. Yeah. Off the top of my head.
My thoughts on Constantine were that he picked a religion that suited his needs politically,
and ousted his brother.
Yeah, and then later convened a council to set down the rules of Christianity, early Christianity, for the rest of the sheep to follow. Right.
Yep. He found a unifying singular thing to get people to do what he wanted to do. I mean, if you look at the symbolism there too, he picked basically a sun god, put suns on his shields, to storm the city from his brother. Sure, okay, he picked one. Great.
Favorite.
Wouldn't it have been funny if he picked Zeus or something else?
Right.
Where would we be today if he lost that battle? Where would we be today?
It would have been more likely that he picked Mithras, I think, was the competing cult, right?
Yeah.
By Mithraism.
Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah. Or I mean, back in those days, their paganism was pretty common. So people believed in multiple gods. It wasn't a big deal. You didn't really challenge other people. There wasn't this authority to tell you who to believe in.
Right.
There wasn't a government association, like that. So same thing with like the Penny the Younger is another one that they'll bring up. These Christians were relatively unknown up until this point. They didn't really have a unified belief system. They didn't have, they're going to claim the creed that they had, but they didn't really have this unification that we think. I always thought, as a young adult, even as a Catholic, that Jesus died, and then like the Catholic Church started, and then we had a Bible, and then come to realize that like we didn't have a Bible till like 500 years ago.
Right.
Like, none of this shit was like really taken together. And then you start reading stuff where you're like, well, what do you mean the Catholic Church burned all competing gospels, that they didn't agree with?
Right.
And, King James took out shit that he didn't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many verses that aren't found in earlier manuscripts that were clearly added.
Well, Richard Carrier can go on about the Gospel of Daniel and the Gospel of Mary. I mean, they have some of these texts. And again, as part of the destruction of the divine feminine, not including the Gospel of Mary. That's a disempowerment of women right there, and taking Lilith out of the Old Testament. And, it goes on and on. But somebody else brought up here on the comment thread a little while ago that the Gospels weren't originally written to be taken in a Bible collectively. And to me, we know that Matthew and Luke are copies of Mark. All right, we know that, and John is the only one that's really different. But me, they were the 4 of them were added so that it gave the illusion of multiple witnesses to the same thing, right? What's your take on that?
I mean, what was mind-blowing to me was reading one of my first Bart Ehrman books, and he claimed, we don't have any of the, this is before I've converted to full-on atheism. So I was actually in a sort of a quarter-life crisis, and I didn't know what I believed. So I was like, you know what, I need to ground myself in the Bible and learn these things. So I'm reading Bart Ehrman books, and he says that we don't have any of the original Gospels. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We don't have the original Gospels. Like, let me look this up. Like, really? All we have is some scraps of paper that are like 90 years after Jesus, and we don't have a full gospel for like hundreds and hundreds of years?
Right.
I'm like, this shit's clearly made up. You know, in my head, I'm going, this shit's clearly made up. But my theist mind is going, well, hold on. Like, maybe there's something else you need to know. So I keep reading. And it only gets worse. You know, it only gets worse the more you read from these people that actually did the study and look for the evidence. I was taking Bart Ehrman, great, well-studied guy, and going, you know what, this guy's wrong. Right. There's no way. Let me look it up myself. Let me do my own research and figure this out. And I validated everything he was saying. So it's mind-blowing to me that this guy existed, if he did, was a god, and nobody cared. There's no inscriptions, there's no statues, there's no paintings, there's no chiseled out message. People aren't carving crosses and stuff, nothing. There's absolutely no mention of Jesus in the first Christian century. What the fuck? Like, you're telling me that this guy can resurrect from the dead, turn the sky dark, earthquakes, holy men come out of graves, rip the curtain in the temple, and nobody noticed? Nobody
wrote about it then.
Nobody wrote about it? Like, that's just, it's baffling to me that I can know about these minor events in Roman history at the time, but nobody wrote this down. I mean, again, if we turned around next week and they, you know, find some more scrolls somewhere and they're dated to the first Christian century during Jesus's lifetime, and it talks about Jesus and these things are validated, I might change my opinion on whether or not Jesus actually existed. It doesn't change whether or not he's a god or not, but I might change it. But the fact that there were ample historians in Galilee at the time writing about events, that we have Roman satirists that were writing about Jewish messiahs and making fun of them during the time of Jesus, yet did not mention him, either means he was so insignificant that nobody cares, or he didn't exist.
Right.
And to me, those two things are the same.
Apparently, Eusebius of Caesarea was commissioned by Constantine to write those first 50 Bibles in 331.
Oh, okay.
This is N. Jolivitz. It's a N. Jolivitz. I'm not sure what that stands for, but thanks for that. And I'm sorry I can't get
the copying. If you read the Bart Ehrman book, Misquoting Jesus, really good book about the copying, how they do copies. And Greek is not an easy language. There's no punctuation, and ancient Greek. And these people were not literate in that they spoke Greek. They were literate in the fact that they could write their name. So they were copying the images from one to another. And if you don't know what you're writing, you're going to screw it up. And then you have copies of copies of copies of copies. You hear them say that, well, 50,000 scriptures. No, it's 50,000 copies. So you had all these copies out there. And then when Christianity starts forming and all these councils start in, they're like gathering these stories together and trying to make sense of it all. You know, it's not a very organized way to distribute your most dire message as a deity, to leave it up to a bunch of idiot humans to try and build your book for you because you couldn't do it.
Right.
Which would take you that much effort.
So Sudhir Patel, I don't know if you know that guy, but he shows up on my threads a lot. Sudhir Patel says, how do you call yourself an atheist if you just said that you're not 100% sure that God doesn't exist? You want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So it's a yes or no question. So when you're born, you don't believe in a God because you haven't been given one yet. You're not born with the knowledge of a God. At that point in time, you meet the definition of an atheist. At some point in your adult life or child life, you might flip that switch to on, to yes, I believe in a God. I am still in the, I flip my switch back. I'm in, I don't believe in a God. I don't know if a God exists. I just don't currently believe in one. That's all an atheist is. I'm not claiming that there is no God. That'd be anti-theist, you know, if you claimed to know certainty about there isn't a God. So that's all an atheist is. If you're an agnostic, or, you know, anything that's, if you don't believe in a God, you're an atheist by definition. So that's it.
Thanks for
agnostic means don't know.
Adam 3021. This is an amazing live. Thank you. Thanks for joining. I wish I could get out to all these comments and questions, but with us talking to each other, they go by and I don't see them.
Mine are just arguing with each other.
Are they? Yeah, that happens too. And
Yes.
I'm glad we engender conversation amongst them, but I feel bad that we can't quite get to all of the questions and comments that come up. But we appreciate everybody coming on board, and this is a lot of fun. So I'm glad we did it. Thoughts on free will? Oh God, that fucking free will thing. What do you think about that?
That's a deep one, because that's something that I have to stay away from right now, because I'm just not mentally capable of handling that one. So I was in the bathroom like a while ago, and I was doing my business, and I look over when I'm washing my hands to leave, and the toilet paper is like, you know, almost gone. And I'm thinking to myself, like, am I consciously making the decision to go get more toilet paper? And if so, can I make the opposite choice against whatever my free will would be to do? Can I not replace the toilet paper? Or is then not replacing the toilet paper some sort of, like, what is the deciding factor here between doing one or the other? Is it just the chemicals in my mind, or am I making a conscious decision? So I don't know. I don't think we don't have free will, period, because you can't just freely will whatever you want to do. There are rules. There's natural law. There's all kinds of other restrictions. I can't stab you right now with a knife. I can't kill you. Does that mean that I don't have the free will to murder? No, you know, or yes. So God could have given us rules and natural law that we couldn't kill each other, and it would not interfere with free will, because right now I can't kill you at will. I can't just stab you. Right. So there's an interference there in my free will. I can't, or I guess I say free will. I can't fly. I can't make myself a millionaire. I don't have these options to do. I have a set rule set that I possibly might be able to make decisions between.
Yeah.
And that's a slippery slope.
A couple of things on the free will. There's a kid in Milwaukee who runs a channel on YouTube called Milwaukee Atheists, and anyone who's interested in deconstructing the Bible, I urge them to go ahead and follow that guy. He's a kid, came from Russian Jewish background. He's probably 23, 24 now. He's an amazing mind, and he really breaks down actual Bible stories and gets deep into it. And he loves the free will argument, and it's not even about God gives us free will. It's just a philosophical argument on whether human beings have free will. And he likes to say that we simply don't have free will, because every decision we make is influenced and informed by everything that we've gone through, our current environment, our education, our mental makeup, our biology, so every decision you make is predetermined by who you are, what you've gone through. So you're really not making a free will decision, making a decision that you have to make based on all of that stuff put together. And maybe I'm not explaining it very well, but that's the argument against human beings having free will. In terms of religion, I Blame Bill just put up a video where she's great, right? She had a video where she says, look, the Bible exhibits quite clearly that God doesn't give us free will, because the Old Testament is full of examples of God clearly and immediately punishing people like Jonah, who tried to use his free will and not preach at Nineveh.
Yep.
And God sent a fish to fuck with him, right? So it's like God.
Not only that, here's what fucks with my mind. Humans, in Genesis, like second chapter in Genesis, a dude is killed by lions because he refuses to impregnate his dead brother's wife. All right? So God will kill somebody for refusing to impregnate their dead brother's wife, which is such a crime, but won't even stop or restrict Satan from deceiving the world after it's made abundantly clear that Satan wants nothing to do with God in Christian mythology.
Right.
Why would God in Christian mythology stop humans for doing something so trivial, but not stop Satan or even remove the power from Satan to deceive. He still empowers Satan to do the work. Why? Because once Tom catches Jerry, the show's over. Show's over. So you can't defeat Satan until you sell all the books.
I like the Coyote Roadrunner better than Tom and Jerry.
Ooh, I got a question here. James Pope 91 says, I'm a new atheist who attends a fully Christian school. Any advice?
Yeah, change fucking school.
My advice would be, and I say this to a lot of kids that are living in their parents' household, make yourself self-sufficient. Get a job, your own apartment, make sure that you have a safe place, that you're in a safe environment, and then start preaching your atheism. I'm not telling you that you're right or wrong, but you need to make sure that your safety is a top priority. And I don't know what your situation with your parents is. There is a group, Recovering from Religion, that will help get you free counseling, secular counseling, and give you better advice. I would seek them for advice and see what they say. I also went to a Christian high school, and it sucked.
Did you? Was it like, did they teach creationism? It was like a Lutheran high school? Were they like...
Oh, so I'm going to tell you how bad it was and how this is embarrassing, because I was 27 when I finally admitted that the flood didn't happen. I was shown Ken Ham videos in high school science class.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I was told that the moon was 6,000 years old, and that's why when they landed on the moon, they thought that they were going to land in so much dust, but the only dust that they had up there was only enough for 6,000 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, this is the kind. So, I was 18, 17. No, I was probably 15, 16, 17 at the time when I heard this stuff. So you put it in your mind. It came from an authoritative source, which I think that that's what religion does. It's like, you must respect authority. And then the authority figure tells you this, it goes in your head. And then I remember watching the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate. I love Bill Nye. So anything Bill Nye does, I love. I didn't remember that Ken Ham was the video I was shown until later. So I'm watching Ken Ham get absolutely demolished by Bill Nye. And me as an adult, I'm revisiting this argument that I had as a child that I never really questioned. And that was honestly, the kickstart into atheism was the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate. I watched that debate, and by the end, I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I think this was true? Like, what else do I think is true that's not true? Like, what other dumb shit? And then it was like, well, look, that might have been wrong, but surely the New Testament, the Bible, Jesus, all that stuff is real. Let me start reading, and off to the races. It just went downhill from there, from Bart Ehrman to David Silverman to Atheist Experience. Like, it just, it snowballed at that point.
Yeah. You like Dillahunty?
He's all right. I mean, I don't have a problem with Dillahunty, but I think that I intentionally avoid their show at this point, not because I don't like the show, but because I don't want to become a Matt Dillahunty. I don't want to use the same arguments that he uses. I want to have my own arguments.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what he's done for the community, and he's made a lot of people think, which is what I would ideally want people to do is think for themselves. But I don't want to copy his style.
Yeah, I feel that. I was lucky enough to meet him, and he's a cool guy. I have to say, he's got an astute mind, and he can break. He's an observer who can break down any situation, whether it's religious or not. It's just a dynamic of a social situation. He's got a really, really sharp way of breaking down any dynamic and explaining it.
Here's a good one. Deconstructing Cradle Catholic. Does Catholic guilt ever go away? I don't know. I'm now, so 2015 would be when I started actually calling myself an atheist. So I still have Catholic guilt. If anything wrong happens in my life, illness, pain, whatever, I immediately think it's because I did something to upset God, which is just how Catholics, you're taught. So I spent 27 years, with that thought process. That's going to be hardwired in your brain, that it takes a while to get that out. So one, find yourself a secular therapist. Secular Therapy Project will help you find a secular therapist. It is very important that you find a secular therapist, because the last thing you need is someone that wants to talk about faith or some dumb shit. It's going to trigger that. And then just realizing like you're not to blame for whatever the ailments are in your life, and you don't need magic to save you. Like you can typically work through those things with real solutions. So for me, it's anxiety. I have a thyroid condition that really fucks with my head. And some of those times, you know, things spike up and I'll have a thyroid event and, you know, I'll have stomach pain or whatever. And I think, oh, this is that punishment for me making videos on TikTok. I got to get off TikTok and stop making videos and, you know, all this stuff. But logically, that makes no damn sense. One, it's a condition that gets treated by medication and is resolved. I don't pray to resolve the problem. I take medication and it resolves. So, you know, don't blame yourself for that stuff, and get a secular therapist to work through real solutions to solve your problems.
That's a great reference. Secular Therapy Project. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
I've never heard.
Yeah, Secular Therapy Project is really good for finding a therapist that is openly atheist. And so if you have church trauma, the last thing you need is a fucking Christian or Muslim that you're going to go talk to. So I remember, so the first time I got a therapist was through employee assistance program through my employer. And you don't really get to pick there. They just kind of give you one. And at the time I was dealing with the Quran fallout, and I'm getting 15 to 20 death threats a day from kids in Malaysia telling me the ways that they're going to cut me up, what they're going to do to my mom's grave, what my house looks like, you know, all these things. So I'm dealing with that, which, you know, it's starting to weigh on me. And I go to the first therapist, and within the first hour, she announces that she's a Muslim. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you about the stuff that I'm really dealing with in my life. Like, I'm going to withhold that. And you don't want to withhold information from your therapist. They need to know what you're thinking so that they can give you advice. So getting a secular therapist, and my secular therapist is a former Methodist. And so she can help me work through real world ways to deal with anxiety or guilt or whatever without introducing the thing that triggered it in the first place. And I feel open and honest about talking about those things without being judged.
Don't you think that the guilt
yeah
has as much to do with your own mental makeup as it does the indoctrination that you received? I think some people, it's just easier for them to get over it.
Yeah, it's easy to blame myself. And I think that I do that a lot. I do it with my employment. I do it with anytime I fall short. Sometimes that works well because I think I'm a more ambitious person, because I don't want to be the person that causes problems. I don't want to be the person that holds other people back. So I do work very hard in my, you know, real life in employment, and I've been very fruitful there. But it does weigh on you. It's stressful. You know, like I stress out over stuff that I shouldn't really stress out over.
Right.
And I worry about things that I shouldn't worry about. And I remember my grandmother was a chronic worrier. She was always worried about stuff. And again, it had to do with religion. It was that religious thing. My mom does the same stuff. I see her do the same stuff. But they don't like, my mom doesn't read the Bible. She doesn't know anything about the Bible. I can talk about this shit all day. She has no clue what the hell's in the book. And that, I think, says a lot about the status of most American Christians. They don't know what's in their book.
No, they really.
So you can build this idea of Jesus that you want in your head. And I think it's evolutionary. When you're a child, you look up to your parent because it's a bigger thing. Like you, it's a human like you that's bigger and more powerful. And as an adult, it's easy to look to God, which is like us, you know, we're in his image, that's there to take care of us. You know, it's an evolutionary thing. So some adults, I hate to say this, but I think a lot of people still need that. We haven't evolved as a species to get out of that mindset yet, to understand the difficult questions in life's meanings. The people slip into nihilism sometimes, you know, and that's dangerous. So some people need that. And I think that, you know, most Christians in America are non-problematic. It's just the ones with loud mouths that need us around to tell them to shut up.
It's really true. And it didn't used to be that way. Thanks for the roses. Crazy cat lady, appreciate it. I can't see. There's not a question at the bottom because we're doing a duet. Usually there's a question bubble at the bottom, so you can't.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't have that.
You can't use that apparently on a duet. So sorry about that if we're missing questions, because there's a lot of people watching and we appreciate it, and we appreciate the input. And I'm sorry we can't quite get to them all. I remember when I first had the first time I had sex, I had that guilt and I was raised a Protestant, and it was a liberal Protestant denomination, but I still was really, really scared the first time I had sex when I was 16 or whatever. And by the time I gave up religion, it just evaporated for me and went away. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember lingering guilt whatsoever. And maybe that was the weed or the acid, but it was.
That's a big one though. I can remember I was 19. This is I had some big regrets. This is one of the big regrets. When I was 19, I somehow pulled super hot girl, super nice, super hot, very smart, very cute. And she wanted everything to do with me. And I avoided her like the plague because I did not want to have sex with her, and I couldn't resist her. Right. And me, oh yeah. And me pulling away from her only turned this up a notch. It only made her work harder.
Right.
And so, it's one of my biggest regrets because I did not forego that relationship. I avoided it, and I don't know what it would have happened had it done, something else. So there are regrets, and there's a few women in my past that I'm like, man, I probably should have taken up on that, advantage.
Dance, man, you're gonna regret that till you're dead.
Yeah, I know, but that's that's the worst. I think that I don't know. After I didn't really have guilt the first time I had sex. I was just kind of over it. I was like, I'm tired of worrying about this. Let's just get it over with.
The only thing I'm trying to read some of these comments here. I noticed that you got off of TikTok for a while, but it lasted like a day, right? You had some stress. You had some.
Well, I got off of. I make myself very available, so I give out I have a separate. What I've done now is I have a separate phone. So like the phone I'm on, this is my real phone. Like this is my everyday phone that I carry with me all the time. This phone is just for atheist stuff. So my Instagram, my phone number, my TikTok, all of that is here. And what that allows me to do is separate the two worlds. So I'm not at work getting text message from people telling me whatever.
Right.
I didn't have that separation at the time. So it was just nonstop Instagram messages, nonstop text messages, nonstop Twitter messages. And I needed a break from that. However, I still like TikTok. Like I like watching videos on TikTok. I like commenting on things. It's more lighthearted for me, but the serious debates are going on in Discord and Instagram and all these other places. So I just have to separate the more serious side, especially when I'm dealing with thyroid issues. So that's kind of what happened, but I can't stay away from TikTok.
Samuel Basketball is taking off. Thanks. She's got to go. Great listening to you guys. Appreciate it. Joey Bones 23 says, I remember thinking it all seemed exactly like the mythology we were learning in elementary school. Yeah. And I think about this a lot. There's a reason that we learn about Greek mythology and we learn about Norse mythology, because they're less easy to compare with Christian mythology. If we learned about Mithras, and if we learned Egyptian mythology, we learned some of these other mythologies that actually Christianity was based on, it would be easier for kids to question their Christian indoctrination. And I think that's why public schools in America don't teach other mythologies that more closely identify as pre-Christian mythology. And to me, that's a violation. The school districts are purposely letting people stay Christian when they should be educating younger kids to all world philosophy and all world religion, thereby making it more difficult for parents to indoctrinate their kids before they're old enough to really question it. And I think it's a failing of the education system, and I think that needs to change. I'm fighting every day for different mythologies and different world philosophy and different religion to be taught in the public school to kids at an early age.
They do. And so this is a book from 1882. It's a reprint from a book that was almost lost. And this is called Bible Myths and Their Parallels in Other Religions, being a comparison of the Old and New Testament myths and miracles with those of heathen nations of antiquity, considering also their origin and meaning. Look how thick this is.
Wow.
These are all references to things in the Bible, like virgin birth, donkeys, talking animals, zebras, all that stuff.
Great flood.
And it explains like where it came from. And there is nothing unique in the Bible. Everything has been done before. Everything existed before the Bible. It was a congregation of all these pagan religions into a singularity is basically my belief personally about Christianity after reading books like this.
Right. Here's the question. If Eucharistic miracles were true, would you reconsider atheistic position? You're a Catholic. I don't know what the Eucharist is because I wasn't Catholic.
So Eucharistic miracle would be, so there have been events allegedly where the body and blood of Christ, so the Eucharist is the body and blood of Christ. So after there's a ceremony that happens every Mass towards the end, and they say some things and do some things, and the host becomes Jesus.
Right.
It does not physically look any different. There have been claims that in these Eucharistic miracles that the bread or the host physically becomes meat.
Right.
In front of everybody in the church. Or the wine physically becomes blood in front of the church. Those are the Eucharistic miracles. Every single Eucharistic miracle that I have ever researched has turned out to be false, or you can't repeat it. And there are definitely churches with priests that want this to happen so badly that they fake it, that they bring meat and do these, switches that has happened. And I can remember in church one time, a priest talking about a Eucharistic miracle where they held up the host, and in front of the entire church, it turned into meat or body and flesh of Jesus Christ in front of the entire church. After his lecture about this, he goes up to actually do said event for this church, and you could just see him like trying to will it, into existence because he wanted it to happen so bad. So that's a Eucharistic miracle, is the host turning into the actual flesh of Jesus Christ visibly, which is obviously nuts.
But I've been to Catholic churches and I've had communion at Catholic churches, and I mean they talk about the transubstantiation, but it's never turned into meat. It's still a wafer, right? And
but it's the body and blood of Christ at that point.
Right, but it doesn't taste like blood. It tastes like wine.
No.
So,
but it is the body and blood of Jesus Christ, allegedly.
But what you're saying is like some of these churches actually fake it and turn it into meat.
Correct.
They like split the meat up and give it to people then?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
And people,
yes, and blood.
Is it beef or pork or what is it?
Couldn't tell you. But I know of a specific situation where they used pig's blood.
That's straight fucked up.
Yeah. To deceive people, they used pig's blood. I mean, you have a lot of people want to be celebrities. People want to be. Well, I mean, look at the Shroud of Turin. I mean, it's a complete tourist trap. And you think that these people didn't make this shit up to get you to come spend money in their shitty little town? Come on. Yeah. I mean, if you go to Jerusalem, if you go to the Holy Lands, you're going to be bombarded with the number of places that claim to have the exact cross Jesus was crucified on, the exact nails that were used. I mean, there's hundreds of places that say they have the nails, and they're in their little museum with their little trinket shop. There's little trinket shops everywhere. And this is the actual tomb. Every hole in the wall, anywhere in the Holy Lands, is the tomb Jesus was buried in. And they all have a gift shop. You're getting played. You're getting played.
Those people want to be played.
It's like going to... Yeah, they want to. They want to feed into that confirmation bias. I mean, if you go to Harry Potter world, you're going to buy Harry Potter stuff. If you go to Jesus world, you're going to buy Jesus stuff.
Yeah. You think that after they see 4 or 5 or 6 of them, they have to know that only.
Yeah, something's up.
You know,
but there's also been statues of Mary are another one that is commonly bleeding statues of Mary is
crying.
Another one.
Yeah, crying or bleeding. Yeah.
Yeah, crying blood, and a lot of those are wax. Like there was a priest that was shoving wax into the stained glass, and then when the sun would hit the wax, it would cause it to leak on, out of the planes. And these people in the church are seeing this and believing that this is some sort of divine thing. And maybe at the time I would have. Now I would be like, cool, can we go investigate this? Let's go see what substance is this? Can we investigate how this is happening? And you're somehow a dick when you're like, yeah, I don't believe that's magic. Like, can we investigate it? It's like, no, you're not allowed to. Like,
right.
Why is God so prissy, like that he can't handle a little bit of criticism?
Well, how about Muhammad then? We're going to talk about that. What, people, they get so offended when you make fun of Muhammad. I had a guy, he went through with that Taylor Michael asshole. You've seen his shit, right? He did the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah.
I did a video where, I pretended that they found, different, I made like fun of 3 Jewish myths, 1 Islamic myth, and 1 Jesus myth. Well, the Muslims get like really offended about the Muhammad thing, but they don't give a shit if you make fun of Jesus or if you make fun of,
they actually like it. They'll enjoy it. I remember the first time I started touching, I had a lot of Muslim followers until I started ripping books. They liked it because I was all after Christians. They loved watching that shit, me destroying Christians.
Right.
Then you turn on them and they're like, no, we're different. It's like, no, you got the same shit.
Right.
Again, I think they're being, it's same with like the orthodoxies. They're being told that this is the word of God and you need to respect it. And that respect is just hammered into them from a young age, and these traditions. There's something about traditions and these rhythmic movements and the songs and all these things. It's something very visceral, very, very human about these. I want to say like the same events, this repetition. And Islam has a very good structure for how they pray, when they pray, so you would think that they have the answer because, again, they have it all figured out. They get all this stuff hammered out. But they're just making guesses like everybody else, and they're submitting to the authority of men that told them this. So that's, I think, what it is. It's a little bit of our shit don't stink, and we're the right ones, they're the wrong ones,
right.
And how dare you make fun of my book?
Apparently, someone is insisting on knowing if any of those Eucharistic miracles were proven true. Would you then switch your atheist position? How the fuck is that? How is any of that going to be?
I guess maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's do it and find out.
What world would that happen in? That's absurd.
I don't know. The other thing is, like, they need to understand too. I didn't wake up today and say, you know what? I'm not going to believe in Eucharistic miracles. Like, that's not how your brain works. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I believe the sky's blue. No, you see the sky's blue. You believe the sky's blue. That's how that works. So each person has different processes in their head for believing in something. I can't choose to believe that the sky is orange. As much as I want to lie to myself, I can't wake up and choose to believe that the sky is orange. I can't choose to believe in Eucharistic miracles.
Right.
I can't. You have to present me some evidence, and if my brain accepts that evidence, then I believe it.
Right.
And so let's find out. Bring me the evidence. Let's see what happens.
People, Pascal, a lot, and I always say the same thing. I'm like, I can't pretend to believe. You know what
right.
I mean?
I'm just being honest.
Why are you an atheist? What if you're wrong? You have everything to lose. That doesn't change the fact that I can't believe what I don't believe any more than I could not be gay if I was gay. It's not.
They want me to lie.
Yeah, it would be a lie.
I asked them, you want me to lie?
Right.
Does Jesus know? Like, if I were to say I believe in Jesus, I'd be lying. And I'm pretty sure your Jesus would know this in Christian mythology, according to him being a God. Yeah. So you want me to lie? Is that what you want me to do?
Right.
That lying's a sin.
Let's go back to that Calam's cosmological argument.
Yes.
What do you say to those assholes who bring that one up? What do you tell people?
I mean, it's special pleading. They're going to say it's not, but it is. It's, this God had no beginning. therefore he doesn't necessitate himself somehow, but this other stuff necessitates a creator. So it's special pleading, 1. 2, I don't know that the universe is a creation. So how can you say that every creation requires a cause? Well, first we have to know that the universe is a creation. So we haven't even gotten there. So it's a bunch of wordplay. I think that have you ever read the Dossier of Reason?
No.
Oh, wow. I'm about to crack your head open. Dossier of Reason is a PDF. You can find it in a PDF, and it breaks down and lists every single thing that is wrong in the Bible. It lists every scientific inaccuracy in the Bible.
Wow.
So it's a Dossier of Reason. It's old. It's not new. I don't remember who wrote it and when it was written. Let's see. Dossier of Reason. Wiki. Yes, Dossier of Reason. I love it. It's so great for getting it. Daniel Henson. And it is, probably a couple, it's a lot of pages, but I mean, every single argument is listed. So for cosmological argument, he starts off with A, it's wrong. B, a zero-sum energy, flat universe can indeed come from an unstable energy of space. Space is consistently creating virtual particles that spontaneously exist and then are annihilated. See my outline, in this book, blah, blah, blah. So it clearly lists, it even goes into quantum mechanics. It's an argument from ignorance, explains each one. Teleological argument, explains it, explains why it's special pleading, all these things. So it's a really good document for just listing all the dumb shit that's in there.
I always had a
and there's literally like 8 pages, I want to say, of just scientific inaccuracies in the Bible.
Right. I always had a problem with the conclusion of Caliam's, where you conclude that there must be a personal singular intelligence. Why?
Yes.
Anything about that argument point to one? Why couldn't there be a panel of 10 terraforming aliens behind it?
Yeah.
So to me, all of that shit,
that would make more sense.
Starting with a preconceived conclusion and trying to fit the evidence and the facts into that, which is the opposite of science. I don't get how people can't see that. If you're starting with your preconceived conclusion and trying to fit the evidence to that conclusion, that's the opposite of deductive reasoning.
Remember when we were talking about the house building and like, how do we know a house is built by people? I always say, well, we observe multiple people building a house. It takes multiple people to build a house.
Right.
And then I'm starting with that. So then if we talk about a city, well, it takes tens of thousands of people to build a city. Well, what about a country? It takes millions to build a country. So how many does it take to build a universe? Like, if we're using your argument about this house building thing,
right?
There could be a multitude of guys, and that would make sense to the chaotic situation that we're in. I mean, it's not like the universe was built for us. That's for damn sure.
Right. Do you read a lot about? You mentioned quantum mechanics, which fascinates me when I'm about it, but I don't have enough to multi.
That goes over my head. That's a cancel religion thing.
Yeah.
Cancel religion's really in the quantum mechanics field. And do you know Cease to Know?
Who?
He's not as big. Cease to Know. He's on a show called Axioms on Trial with Jesus Mike.
Uh-huh.
His brother is actually a quantum physicist. Uh-huh. And they'll bait people in. It's fantastic. These people that want to talk quantum mechanics and think that they can prove God with quantum mechanics.
Yeah. And
they'll get his brother to come in and just absolutely just beat the shit out of these dudes, because he's an actual quantum physicist. And they don't have an understanding of quantum physicists.
I've talked to Lawrence Krauss, and I know he's got his issues now. You don't hear too much from him since he was groping on people, but he has an amazing mind for that shit. And when you hear him talk about it, it starts making sense to you. Then you go away and you eat dinner and you're like, what did he say? And it goes away,
Yeah.
I get it for a minute and then I'm like, nah, I'm just smart. So,
I can't do quantum. I'm not good with math. And there's a lot of math in quantum mechanics. So I just don't, I accept that I'll never understand it.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the right biology to understand it, unfortunately. So it is what it is.
Speak of the devil, and he appears. Cancel religion joined, just as we mentioned him.
Yeah.
Cancel religion. Awesome. And our guy says you're good at understanding quantum mechanics a little bit. Evolution may actually be a product of quantum mechanics, says cancel religion. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. Possible, I guess.
But I implore people to look at the cutting edge of quantum mechanics. When they start talking about nothing can't come, or something can't come from nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing is not what you think it is. So, if you're not, that's what kills me. It's like people won't, if your doctor tells you, you're a janitor, say, and your doctor tells you you need kidney surgery or you're going to die. Do you argue with that guy? No, but they'll argue with a cosmologist who spent his whole lifetime or her whole studying the evidence and the empirical data. They'll argue with that guy like they know better. I'm like, do you argue with your dentist when your face feels like it's going to fall off and he says you need a root canal?
Yeah.
No, you pretty much.
And also, when your doctor needs advice, does he go to a 2,000-year-old book? Like, no, he looks at the most recent information. That's how science works. That's how the world around you came to be. We didn't get cell phones to do this duet based on prayer. Like, none of that shit happened. It came from the scientific process. So unfortunately, scientific process isn't perfect, but it is the best way we have at advancing the species and proving things are real that we have. We got to use the tools that we have.
And it adjusts to the new evidence. If it finds out something that's wrong, it adjusts. It doesn't double down on the mythology or the wrong information that it just, it was discovered was wrong. So the whole anti-science thing in America, I do not get. Science was when I was growing up, and now it's just like people are proud to be skeptical of science. It's like all scientists are out to fool us or disprove their God. They just don't get
I got into so when I was in middle school, I loved like Greenpeace and environmental science and that kind of stuff. Then I got older and algebra started, and I was like, fuck this shit. And so I didn't get a science degree. But I always liked atmospheric science. Climate change is very, very important. I think understanding how the atmosphere works is very important to our species. And the number of people that don't understand, like my parents were like this. I'm like, when you woke up this morning, what did you do? You woke up in your air-conditioned house. You drove your car. You ate food that came from cows. You used a refrigerator. All of those things make heat. All of those things make heat. There's no doubt that you created heat by your existence. Now multiply that by a couple billion people, and also you're putting CO2 in the atmosphere at alarming rates.
Methane.
How can you deny global warming? How can you deny global warming?
So
it's not hard to understand what we're doing to the environment. And then the Christian. I think that the dangerous Christians that deny science are also the ones that play in to this one world order, right-wing conspiracy theory, which I don't get. They're like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. The election was a fraud, but your religion isn't a conspiracy. Like you're telling me that the U.S. government, first off, Apple, big company, right? Apple's the most probably. I think they are the richest company in the world. We know the next iPhone, what it looks like, when it's coming out, the features, what they're using. They cannot keep a lid on that secret. And they're the biggest company in the world. But you want me to believe that the U.S. government is orchestrating this election fraud across multiple states, multiple different jurisdictions with multiple people, and they can pull this off?
Yeah.
And with all these secrets?
Or code.
So they're so hyper skeptical of information that they don't want to accept as true. And then the things that fit their confirmation bias are like, yeah, that's cool. You come on in. Jesus, yeah, talking animals, come on in. Guy living the B900, like you can come in. But the things that are right in front of your face are like, no, that vaccine's fraud. There's not a real vaccine.
You have to believe that every scientist and every doctor and every medical professional in the entire world is complicit in a conspiracy. How that would take so much work than actually coming up with a vaccine.
We can't agree on anything. Vaccines, for example. Children are given the most vaccines as kids. pediatricians are the lowest paid of doctors. So you're telling me this guy went to school for 7 years and did residency to go and hurt children for low money? Like, why would they do that? Makes no, every pediatrician is out there hurting children after spending 8 years in school to make less money than other doctors.
That kind of malpractice insurance.
The first part of it,
and insurance companies pay for vaccines. Why is that? If they make you sick, why are insurance companies paying for vaccines?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Oh, none of it makes sense.
No.
What about that?
But vaccines do work.
I saw you did a you did a couple of videos with that one chick who like goes on and drones about the 5G towers and the magnetic.
I have a neighbor like that. I have a Canadian neighbor that thinks that 5G caused COVID, and she is fucking nuts. I hope she's not watching. I don't know how she would.
What is up with that shit? How do people have time?
No,
I
don't know. I don't know. It's like they don't understand that they've been bombarded with radio waves since they were born. That this shit's hitting you all the time, and that 5G isn't some new radio. It's not like they invented a new color. It's the same wavelengths that have been hitting you through your entire life. It's not. Again, they no data to support any of this stuff, but it meets their confirmation bias, so it's good enough.
How are you filming yourself so your shit's not backwards? You showed me that book and the letters were.
You can mirror, see?
Get the fuck out. Is this something that I don't even know this about myself?
In the bottom right, the 3 little dots, and then it says mirror your video.
Get the fuck out of here. This is how lame I am.
It's backwards.
There, it did it. See, I got my praise the lard. Sure.
Oh, nice.
And everything I've always done. Now I know how to do that. Holy shit, man. Thank you so much. See, it takes.
Yeah, I taught you something.
How old a guy are you?
It's repeatable, testable.
What are you, like 35 now? 30? What are you?
34?
Yeah. See, that's my whole life. I
think
so late that like everywhere I go, I'm always the oldest dude who's like doing this kind of.
That's fine. I need you to make money. I wouldn't make money if I didn't have people that didn't know how to use computers.
Yeah, right. No, that's cool. But no, I'm really happy to have learned that. That was fucking awesome. Now I don't have to fucking show my shit backwards. I did see you before. I got a shout out to my girl, Atheist Mama Bear at Atheist Sanctuary.
Oh yeah.
She's always
so check out what I found.
Always sweet to me.
Recently.
Kenosha in the house by the light of a salt lamp. That's our town, right?
This is a.
What do you got?
This is a dictionary from 1924.
Whoa.
And it was my great grandmother's, and I found it in a bunch of old stuff. And it's funny because there are words in here that don't exist yet, and I think that shows how terrible language is, and why language from a book is a limiting factor on our ability to communicate with each other. And a deity would not use such a flawed vessel to communicate a message of dire certainty. Words change meaning. Words can mean multiple things now, because in ancient languages, things weren't around. You know, they didn't have computer. The word computer didn't exist, or battery, or whatever. So you can't take ancient language and directly translate it to current language. A deity would know this, and a deity would not make such a dumb mistake.
Yeah, I got to agree. That's why there's 50,000 translations of the Bible. Every time somebody needs to show the Bible to a new, dumber English audience, they dumb it down again. It's like the telephone game.
Yep.
How could it possibly be accurate?
Yep.
And that's another one.
And the first part of that dossier of reason exactly starts with the problem with the Bible. Which Bible? that's the first part of it.
Right.
Which one? You know?
And how about the Muslims who claim that the Quran has never been changed like the Bible has? What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, I can show you a picture of 11 different Qurans. So, and then they're going to claim, yeah, but it's the same thing. Like it's changed. It's not the same. What you did is you had stricter controls on those that disagree with you because you killed them. So if somebody had a Quran that didn't agree with your Quran, so immediately after Muhammad dies, you split and you have two different sects of Islam. Immediately, Muhammad's dead, two people, both are competing for control. They have different interpretations, and that translates even today. So you're already divided on your message immediately after the death of this guy, before the book's even written. So now you have two different sects writing two different books, and it's just off to the races from there. And then they're fighting each other for forever over who's got the right book.
Right.
And even if the book hadn't been changed, who gives a shit?
Right.
Like, it's still I can put it this way: I can write a book, and I can make sure it isn't changed. Is that special? No, it's not. It's not special. Anybody can do it. You can do it. I can do it.
Yeah, I tell people the same thing. It's like, obviously there's publishing laws alone in countries where they just won't allow that to happen. And if your country is authoritarian, a Muslim authoritarian government, they're not going to allow the press to change the Quran to a different translation of the ancient Arabic to a new version.
And it's all left to interpretation anyway,
Right.
So
even the way it is.
Sure, the words in the book might have not changed, but your understanding of the words in the book have changed.
Somebody asked me about contradictions. There's no contradictions in the Quran. Name one. That was an early question about 2 hours ago. And I've read two surahs, and I already found a contradiction within a couple of lines of each other. To me,
yeah, the first part. I mean, the creation story is wrong. There's a lot of problems that they ignore, and it doesn't matter what you show them. They are very well researched on what you're going to bring up, and they already have what they were told to say. They already have the excuse on ready. It doesn't matter. So I try not to get in. I try to avoid the theological discussion with Muslims, because they have this trained response, and you just at that point I'm talking to a brick wall.
Right.
So I always just go straight back to, I need you to demonstrate how this book came from a God, how you know it's from a God and not from a time traveler, or from me. I gave it to him. Prove I didn't.
I love how if you insult Christians and if you parody Jesus or draw a picture or make fun of Jesus, Christians' reactions are to try to convert you, right?
Yeah.
Muslims' reactions are either to try to kill you, beg you not to, or just beg you not to. Why do you have to insult Muhammad? Why?
Don't threaten me. I get threats immediately.
Yeah, I've gotten my threats. That's how I knew I made it. I'm like, I finally made it. I get death threats from Islam.
The weird thing, like, I get the weirdest threats too from, I'm assuming kids. I don't know, but they'd be like, "Hey, your house is ugly," or "I'm going to stab you," or something like that. And I'm like, I live in America.
Like, is that a big insult to them? Doing something?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to my mother's grave. Still alive. I
don't care.
Who cares what you do? Someone's
it's a weird thing. So also, like I don't think they understand. Like, I live in America, in the South, and I am a very prominent Second Amendment advocate. Like, I don't have a problem with gun ownership. In fact, my city requires me by law to own a gun. Did you know that?
That's Georgia for you. You moved.
Yeah. So I am required by city law to own a gun and operate it. So what makes you think that I'm just going to open my door and let you stab me?
Right.
Like, that's not how this works, first off. Secondly, I also live in the South in America. You are going to be stereotyped the second you get off that plane.
Right. Good luck getting to my house.
Yeah, good luck getting to me.
You're
going to get pulled over immediately.
Through the pile of rednecks that you have to wade through as a brown-skinned Muslim trying to come over here to fuck with us. I mean, we're lucky that way. Someone had pointed out, if we lived in Paris, it wouldn't be so easy for us to do that.
No.
Like, come and try it in America. I'm the same way. And I think if you live in Texas, or if you move to Texas, they mail you a gun. I think it just comes to
yeah. But we need to continue to be critical of Islam, to push the narrative.
Thank you.
So that it is not a crime to make fun of it. I get so many messages that are heartbreaking from people that live in Saudi Arabia that are typically gay or something else, and they know that because they're gay, that they would be murdered in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
That they would be killed, and they can't say shit. They have to live with it. They got to pretend. They have to do that. And they message me and they go, "I love watching your content. You can do the things that I can't do. Please continue to do those things. Maybe one day things will change for me," things like that. And it's heartbreaking to know that there are people out there suffering in Saudi Arabia because they can't be themselves.
Yeah, I get the same message. What if you're a gay atheist? Do they kill you twice?
Yeah, that's, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
They really do you up in.
I agree completely. It's, you know, and it's not Islamophobic. That, you know, I get accused of being Islamophobic because I make fun of Muhammad. That's not Islamophobia, to make fun of religion. Islamophobia is different, and I'm not Islamophobic. And people are in America Islamophobic, but yeah, those people have such a complex about it that you're right. We have to know.
Here's where I disagree. I had in my, not with you, but disagree with the Islam. In my city, again, racist motherfuckers have, there was a mosque that was being built. They wanted, it's in a strip mall, and they were going to rent the strip mall. It's actually like literally not far from me, like a couple, maybe 2,000 feet away from me. This mosque is, it's in a strip mall. And so they went to city council, and the city council 4-5 voted and said, nah, you can't build that here. There were protests where people were like, no Muslims in this city. Like, we're not letting Muslims in this city. Like, it's going to be all these terrorists and blah, 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 blah. And you can't do that. I'm on the other side of that. The Muslims should be allowed to practice their religion and put it in a fucking strip mall. So this became a big deal, you know, a big deal, and eventually got overturned because, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be doing that kind of shit. And luckily the city council was kind of disbanded after that. And they, you know, new members came in, they got voted in and out. But that's where I disagree. That's Islamophobia. Like, that's 100% Islamophobia, is telling them they can't have a church, telling them they can't assemble, they can't practice their religion. That's Islamophobia.
That's awesome. The strip mall, the dollar store next to it could make a fortune selling prayer rugs, probably.
It's next to a guy that sells pot pies and a storage unit thing, like a public storage.
If there was a pot pie place next to the mosque, that'd be a no-brainer for me. I'd be in the pot pies place every day.
Yeah,
I love pot pies.
Get the pork pot pie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pork pot pie. Praise the Lord, man. It's getting late, dude. I'm gonna have to cut this off pretty soon. We could probably go forever.
Yeah.
You got a watch by you? I don't even know what time it is. You got your?
It's 11:53.
And you're, so it's 10:53 here. So we went on for 2 hours. A few more minutes then, and I'm gonna cut us loose, I think.
We can wrap up.
They are still doing actual witch hunts in Muslim countries with scientific methods of examination.
True.
Is that true? Look,
it's true. So, and here's the thing: Muslims know algebra and our numbering system came from Arabic and Islamic countries.
Right, back when they contributed.
But what happened? Yeah, what happened? Like, these countries were leading in science at one point in time. Well, what happened was the Islamic Revolution, and you know, saying that science was somehow removing you from being a good Muslim. So look what happened to those countries. You know, you don't have the same type of developed nations as they used to be. You know, Iraq was a cultural center.
Yeah.
These places were fantastic. I don't think you want to go to Iraq right now.
No, you don't. And in the 70s, Tehran was a place that anybody would have wanted to go. And you could sit on and have a tea, you know, and enjoy life. And Baghdad in the Golden Age, I mean, what a beautiful would have been. And a Muslim brought like, you say that, like, religion makes you, you know, it makes you stupid, or religious people lack. What about the Golden Age? I'm like, what about it? That was like, what, 800 years ago? When was that? And what the
what happened?
It's going backwards.
Yeah.
Not going forward. Yeah. Going backwards. But fundamentalism and extremism is what we fight. And extremism in America takes the form of Christian nationalist evangelicals, and they're the American Taliban. And that's you know, personally, that's
I agree.
That's what we're here to fight in general.
I'm more afraid of some white Christian than I am of any Muslim in America.
Absolutely.
I am more afraid that some redneck motherfucker is gonna shoot at me more than some Muslim coming and killing. I'm very not concerned about it.
In a general way, if you asked me if I would rather live on a block full of Muslims or a block full of Christians in America, I pick the Muslims every day. Every fucking day. Christians in America are noxious beyond compare. So
yes, that's a good way to put it. They're very obnoxious, and they're fragile. They're very fragile. You can't take the floor out from under them. They get really upset.
Right. All right, man. This has been a blast. What you got? Anything you want to plug before?
Yeah. Just my merch, like the t-shirts.
We both got merch. I don't have my t-shirt on that I made, but we both have merch. You can get my merch at cafepress.com/underground gear, and our guy Jeff makes pillows and yeet. I love the yeet thing. He's throwing a baby against the rock, dashing a baby against the rocks.
It's happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. And what's fantastic about this is someone else said, that's not in the Bible. And then they went and looked it up themselves. Right. And then they were like, oh shit, this is in the Bible. Right. So it's a great conversation starter.
Yeah, it is. So where do you find that shit?
You can just Google Atheist Troll merch and that'll pull up my link tree. Or you can find it in my bio.
Awesome. All right, dude.
Yeah, I'll see you later. We'll do it again. I'll let you know.
For sure. This has been a blast. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We love you all. Check out our stuff on the other social media. You can find them on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Anywhere you want. And we love you all. And we'll see you again soon, man.